Hiya guys, and welcome back to Aid's Workshop. So this is going to be episode 17 of the Webster Engine. It's dragging on. I don't know whether it's too many episodes, whether I'm showing too much detail, whether I'm stretching it out too much. I don't know, but I'm still enjoying what I'm doing, and I think most of you are enjoying the journey along the way. So I made a mistake in the last video when I made the piston. Well, it wasn't a mistake. I've got the piston here. All I did was the counterbore. Let me bring it into camera. So, basic piston. All I did was the counterbore in the underside. But of course, I've got to do a cross-drilled hole for the gudgeon pin in the side through the piston. And then in a square plane to that, so imagine a pin going through this, hang on, where are we? In this direction, through the centre. There's got to be a slot going 90 degrees to it on the inside of the piston. Now the problem is, yes, I can set it up and do the pin, but then I've got to register the pin somehow at 90 degrees out to do the slot. So what I thought was, well, this is what I did. I made another piston, but I've left a holder on the end. So I've turned this at the same time, basically a tack from this end with a centre in it, turned an undercut diameter, this is to hold on, turned the entire piston, then held on this bit, and did my counterbore in the end, much the same as the last one, there we are. So what that means is I can now put it, because in the ER32 collet block, purely because that diameter is too big for my biggest collet. It's greater than 22 mil. So now I've turned the register down at 16 mil. It'll go straight in the collet block. Happy days. So that's why I've done that. So yeah, basically when I've finished all the rest of the work on the piston, put it back in the lathe, skim this back off to this space here, job's a good one. So yeah, that's what happens when I haven't got the drawing around me to sort of forward plan. So this is me doing a bit of forward planning, and I haven't scrapped that one. If I mess this one up, I might go down another route and do it with this one and make this the final one. But yeah, this one fits in exactly the same way. So yeah, that's just going to make life easy going forward. So I'll show you my method. So this is the plan. I've just got the DTI stand here. So collet block in this way round in the vise, with the part in the collet. Obviously I can pick up side to side. I'm already central about, so when I pick up side to side I've found the middle of the block in the one plane. So I can drill, ream the gudgeon pin hole. Once I've done that, I can take the block out, stand the block up, and then at 90 degrees to that, so the pin's going to be going this way, I can peck the slot in this direction. I will have to find the centre again. So that's my thinking. It's made life a bit easier for me. Always difficult to show a clock face for some reason. It's like a matter of how much light you've got. So gonna sweep this into centre. Now I could sweep the jaws of the vise, but I don't know to get a centre point and call that middle of the road. But I don't know how accurate it is out here in relation to the collet block. So I'm gonna just play on the side of safety, so you can see the needle. I don't know whether you can see, it's on about 5 before. So first thing I want to do is find the centre height, so the point at which when I go down, the needle's going to increase, and then when I go over the brow, because there's a ball on it, it's going to decrease or go back the other way. So I know exactly where it is. I've just done it. So when that gets to there, that's just started to go back the other way. So I'm just going to set a quill stop there, lock the quill. Okay, ooh, not quite. Okay, right. So that's just eased off slightly, 2 seconds. You know what, I'm going to do it with the adjuster. Okay, I'm not going to lock the quill. Right, so if I just come off with that now, and wind back in, I'm only a few thou off the 0, so if I wind back in just to bring the needle to 0, and I'm going to set a 0 there in Y. Okay, so what I'll do, I don't know how close I am. Okay, not a problem. So I'm going to spin the clock 180 the other way, come back in, and then just wind back out. Now you can't see the clock and I'm round this side, So I can see I'm about 5 thou off centre. Keep going till I get a touch. Too much. There's 0 in Y again. So basically I'm the same distance either side. So all I do now is go to my DRO, push Y half, just come off, and then halfway between those 2 points it's going to be the lock Y. Okay, so my spindle is now central about on the pin. So that's all I was looking for, really. Easy enough for me to step off the edge. I'll do that with a wobble pin, and I'll step back the correct amount for where the hole's going to be. So that's pretty much it for centralizing that. So I'll put a wobble pin up now. In fact, can't remember whether my wobble pin's the same 8mm collet or whether it's a 10, but not to worry. I'll pick up on the edge and then I'll step across the correct distance with a gudgeon pin hole. Just picking up on that edge. There we go, call that 0 in X. There we are. So I know that the tip of this is 100 thou, and as I'm working in Imperial, happy days. So I think drill chuck up next. Yes, drill chuck. Can I fit her in there? Yes. Does come in handy having multiple collet nuts. You could leave the collet set up in the nut with a tool that you're using at the time, and yeah, it just, you know, you can set yourself up with it. So right, I know I'm a point 50 thou off the edge of there. Back to drawing now, see what the distance up is at 50 thou. Excuse me. I was trying to hold that off. Okay, so yeah, add the 50 thou and then see what size hole it is, and we'll put that hole through. So 3/16. I have got a 3/16 reamer, so I am going to use 3/16. Haven't done the bush in the end of the conrod yet, but no reason I can't use 3/16, and I'll stick to the sizes on the drawing. Obviously I can turn 3/16, that's easy enough. So yeah, that's centre drilled there. I'm going to put a 4.5mm drill through and go from there. I did put a hole up the centre. It's got to be 3/8 the width of the slot, and it's 3/4 deep altogether. So I put a hole up through the centre just to give myself in the lathe, but a couple of mil off full depth. And I think I put 8mm hole in there. So I've got that bit of clearance in the middle, just to make it easier later on, and I did that when I was in the lathe stage. I didn't do that on the first one, but I have done it on this one. Right, I'm going to have to take my head up a few turns. Okay. Right, so a bit of WD at the ready. Let's turn that down at the ready. What am I doing? 450, that should be fine for this reamer. Okay, there we are. That is the 3/16 reamed hole. So I dare say I may have to put that reamer back through afterwards when I've milled the slot and you know, burred over the other side of the hole. I'll have to deburr these at some point. That's going to be a little oil stone, I believe, around the outside. Not going to use a Noga, that might be a bit harsh. But so that's step one. We have a hole in it. Yeah. Okay. So just to explain, straight from there, I can now take it out. You know what? I might be able to cheat because there's a little hole in here again on the top to let the oil in onto the gudgeon pin. And if I set a stop on my block, I could just rotate the block and put that hole in this setup. If I put a stop on the block, because I know where I am in relation to, well, in relation to this end and that end. Let me go back to my drawing and have a look. So I've had to break the number drills out. So it's 332, number 42 drill will do it. It's asking for 94 thou, but 93.8, something like that. So it's going to be that drill. Let's just close the drill so I don't want to get them full of swarf at any point. So, right, my setup now, I've just changed to a small centre drill. So if I've got my stop on the back, so that I know I'm not going to alter in X. So I'm just going to take the collet block out, revolve 90 degrees, back against the stop. I have checked this out before, this collet block, and I do know it is pretty, you know, it's central about and square. But so now there's a change of datum. The cross drilled hole, which is now at 90 degrees, it was 563 thou up. This hole calls for 500 thou from the top of the piston. So, let me just check that, because I'm going to mess up. 500 from the top of the piston, yes. So it means I need to move X back in this direction by 63 thou. Now I've just set a 0 on it. So 63, yes, 63. I have got a sketch that I've made up. 63 thou, right, okay. So have I got enough height? Just my stop's a bit low, let's see. Okay. So yeah, just give myself a peck mark. And obviously this hole only doesn't go right through the piston. So if I go through into that center cavity which is in there, yeah, I just go through into the center cavity, which is going to get closer to me further later on. A little bit of that WD that's dribbled through when we're running out. That's fast enough. I did kick a touch, but I'm not going to break my heart. Now it does mention about a little brass tube that goes in here. I'm through. Am I through? I'm through. It does mention about a little brass tube that goes in here, so this has pretty much told me now that when I put this piston in, this is going to be the top of the piston facing the hole in the, where's the other part? There it is. So there's an oiler goes in this hole, and obviously when it drips oil, it's going to drip down through that hole, through a little tube, onto the gudgeon pin. So that's the sort of idea for lubricating the piston and the gudgeon pin. Let me just put that across. We'll put this drill away now before we lose it. Yeah, that's pretty much the holes done. So now that we've got this far, let's just show the next step. I can take that back out the vise. Okay. I'm going to put it in this way round. Doesn't matter about that stop, but I can put it against that stop just because I can. It's not relevant to my location at all. Okay, so now when I go down in the top, I can mill the pocket this way. Yes, this way, which is, where's my gudgeon pin hole? No, my gudgeon pin hole is running this way. Do I want to run it with X or Y? Long as I do it the correct way when I machine it, it doesn't matter. You know what, I think I'd rather do it with X. That just feels more natural to me. So if I just take that block back out, rotate 90 back in. Sorry, I'd rather put the pocket in, pecking in this direction with Y, and that way the gudgeon, I know the gudgeon pin's running this way in this plane. I know I'm 90 degrees to it, and I'll run the slot this way. That's what I'm thinking. So, yeah, let's just get set up for that slot now. So, just put my clock back up. I think we're there. X0, Y0, Z0, whatever. Okay, let's just bring my clock out of there, put it safe. So I'm in centre of the world now, picking up on the outside to do my slot. So I should be smack bang in the middle of the piston. So it's 3/8. It's 3/8 wide. I'm wondering if I don't just peck down to depth from a touch. Get somewhere and get a touch. And then do it by pecking it and then just run the cutter back and forth. Have I got a 3/8 slot cutter? I've got an end mill. Have I got a slot cutter? Don't know. We'll have to have a look. So knowing I've got that datum in the middle, I've just stepped across. I'll just bring my cutter down just a touch on that lip. And I know that this slot is going to be 3/4 deep from this back face. So set a 0, imperial. Okay, so I've got a depth figure now. Let's go back to the middle. I may have to ramp down when I get to the bottom as I cut. So I suppose the next, right, I'm in the middle there. So the next thing I need to do is to see what the offsets are going to be at their max. So if I'm 0 in the middle, how many thou this way, how many thou that way? So back to drawing, check that, write it on my notepad, and then I'll know what I'm heading for. So I've dropped the cutter down to the bottom, 750. Let me just show you what I'm doing is pecking down. So if I go down to the bottom, I've set a depth already onto a stop at 750 deep. So I've already started, but say for instance my slot length over the outsides is 0.688. If I take the cutter diameter off that, gives me 0.313. Split that by 2 because that's what I want to move either side of 0. Gives me 156.5. So 10 thou at a time. I'm on 40 now. There we are. 10 thou at a time. I'm just pecking over and dropping back down into that depth. So I've got no side load, well, no great side load on the cutter. I'm using the end face to do the cutting. All my load is downwards. Okay, so I'll keep going like that, moving the part towards me 10 thou at a time, pecking down to full depth until we get to somewhere near a 156. Probably it will go right to the 156, 157 mark. Then back and do the same the other direction. So last peck at 156 in the other direction. Go to depth. Right, now. Sweep back across. Through 0. Back to 156 the other way. It's 140, 156. And back up. That's the slot done. Uneventful. Pain-free. Okay, oh, I'm happy with that. Right, I'm just going to go back to 0, so I'm on centre point. There. Happy days. So, I can see the slot down in there. You won't be able to. I will show you later on. Now, there's a final thing to do in here, down in this pocket. Either side of that slot, there are 2 tapped holes, which have grub screws in, which clamp on the gudgeon pin. So there again, I've got an offset left and right, but from the centre point. So now's the time to put them in, and that, other than deburr, tidy up, and machine off that spigot that I'm holding on, that'll be the piston done. I've just gone back to the drawing, and the holes are 625 apart, so a 3125 offset in wide, left and right. Now the drawing calls for, well, it says an 89 thou hole to drill, and then tap number 440 for grub screws. Now I know pretty much that for me to try and get hold of number 440 grub screws is going to be an absolute, yeah. Very close to that is 7BA. Very close. Now I know I can probably get 7BA grub screws quite easily, so that's a good thing. So with that said, I mean M2.5 I have, but an M2.5 tap. Let's have a look what an M2.5 tap is. 2 seconds. What the tapping drill is. Is it close? I'm having to just go to my Zeus book. M2.5 is the same tapping drill. Now I think I may have M2.5, so I think M2.5. Now have I got a tap? You know, I don't know. I'm going to scrounge around. I know I've got 7BA. I know I haven't got number 440, but I may well have an M2.5 tap because I know I've got the grub screws. So I'm going to aim down the M2.5. If I can't find the tap, then I'm going to go 7BA, or do I buy a tap? You know, I got two routes. But I like BA, so 7BA is probably the route I'll go. I'll go and have a boot through, see what I have got, and we'll go from there. So ignore everything I said. Total change of mind. I've looked at it. I've scratched my head. I haven't got a 2.5 tap. I haven't got 2.5 grub screws. I've got M3s. I haven't got 7BA grub screws, although I have got a tap and the tapping drill. I'm going to put M3 in. There's plenty of room. So my offset, 3125. So I've got a tiny center drill in there. So 3, 1, 2, 4. That's close enough. Right, okay, so that, let's bring the head down a touch. Is that going to rub on the side of there? Ooh, right, okay. Change of plan. 3mm spotting drill. I know I've got one of those. I'm not very organised, guys. I'm, as I say, I'm bringing you along for the journey. So, let's have a look. 3mm spotting drill. Back up with the head again. Is that going to miss the side wall? Oh. You know what? It's too close to the side wall. I'm going to change dimension here, because that's not in the middle of the flat. It may be in the middle of the material, in the middle of the pin. I'm going to try 300 offset. Let's just try see what that looks like. Because I don't want my M3 tap grooving down the side of the skirt. 300 offset. How does that look? That looks better. So I've changed the design just ever so slightly. Little spot there. You know what, I'll do them in one hit. 300 the other way. Okay, that's spotted those two. And of course now 2.5 drill. So a bit of RPM going on here, shall we? Just drill through into the gudgeon pinhole. just going to set a 0 there so I know where I am. 300 offset the other way again. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to look through the hole. That dimension there would be good. I'm not sure I went right through on this one. You probably saw it, I didn't. 300. Yeah, that's fine. Right, M3 tapping those two holes, and that is it, we're done. So second hole. No heroics. I've set a 0 on my DRO. I look through the hole on the first one. When I get to 0, I know I'm through with the tap. That's it. Nope, we're ready to rock and roll. Out she comes. So that little spigot we put on was very useful. And there you can see the detail. Inside the slot, the two tapped holes, gudgeon pin runs through to that, and in the, where is it, and in the top of the piston, the hole for the little piece of brass tube. So next thing, machine this back off, so simply hold it in the 3-jaw gently and face off that spigot. Well, there it is, guys. There's the piston. Completed. I've just deburred it. I haven't cleaned it out, obviously, because it's going to get grubby again yet. But that's it, done. I faced off the spigot on the end. Crow's having a talk at me outside, but I think my famous saying, happy days. I'm making some progress. I've just made the bronze bush, pressed it in there. I made it a 1 thou interference fit and pushed it in. It's got the 3/16 reamed hole in. It's quite tight on the gudgeon pin or wrist pin, which I have made as well, and that's sat in the oil. I've just hardened it. So yeah, there's a 0.63 or 63 thou hole in here. No, 1.6 mil. And now that the bush is in, I've just centre drilled it. The bronze bush is in. I'm in the bronze bush now. And that's it. That's the hole to let the oil into the wrist pin, or gudgeon pin I prefer to call it. So I think, can I deburr that where it is? I think I'll just do it with the end of a small countersink. Here's one. Just put a little chamfer on that leading edge there. Okay, so that could have burred the inside of the bush just slightly. I'm going to put this drill and this away before I lose the drills. Far too easy to lose small drills. So yeah, I may have to run the reamer back through there just to make it fit the pin. So I think what I'll do is just tickle the reamer back in the hole. Then I'm going to polish up the pin, temper it, and we'll go from there. So difficult for me to show this. You can see in the top of that bore a little bit of brass tube. Now it's, well, it worked out to be 98 thou diameter, OD. It's got a 1.6 hole through it, and it's 188 thou long. And you can see it's just pressed in with a bit of Loctite into the hole in the OD of the piston, and just pushed, you know, a thou or so below surface. So when the oiler goes on the cylinder, it drips down, grabs the oil there, drips down and onto the con rod. So what I must make sure, let me make sure I got you in shot, is the hole in the con rod has to be in the top when it's assembled. So I'm going to just loosely mount the two grub screws in there, fit the gudgeon pin through. I will put a bit of oil on it beforehand, but I'm just going to do a pre-assembly. I got a little Allen key bit in my screwdriver. I put the first one in. Just, there we are. Get the 2 grub screws started in their holes. So I've pre-assembled the gudgeon pin and the conrod. This will all be coming apart again because there's a lot of detailing to go on here. So I'll put the top facing up, put the flat on the conrod in line with the grub screw, make sure the conrod's the right way up, and in she goes. So right, I should still be able to get the screwdriver in the hole with the conrod pushed to the side. Okay, right, okay, so my my gudgeon pin's way offset, so let's just loosen those again. Just nip one. That's below surface, that's below surface. Okay, so the gudgeon pin is, oops, shorter than the diameter of the piston. Well, that's it. That's the and as you can see, it does go back and forth. Conrod to piston assembly done. So as I always say, where are we? Yeah, there we are. Little steps in the right direction all the time. Yeah, I don't know how well I showed that. Like now I'm looking in the viewfinder. Rotates nicely. Okay, so and I've got, if we look up there, there's a little pipe coming down. It misses by, I don't know, let's have a look. Maybe 20 thou. When it's sort of in this position, it misses by about 20 thou. And overall clearance, I'm going to take a guess, about 45 thou when it's there. So I could afford to tap it in more, but I Loctited it in and it's there for life now. So that's that bit done. Yeah, there we are. Little steps in the right direction. That can come apart again, apart from the bits that are Loctited, which is the bronze bush in the conrod and that little pin that's in there. So I haven't done this in such a long time, but I've put all the components together now. I've even got a piston ring on the piston. Left myself a couple of notes of bits I need to do on the mechanical side. So basically I've spun it over with a drill, and I could hear on the compression stroke, I did fit the exhaust just for the purposes of showing you that I've made the exhaust. I made it quite a bit shorter than the original. But yeah, I noticed that it was leaking air on the compression stroke. I did have the plug in. Leaking air out of the exhaust port, so I haven't lapped the valves yet, so I will lap the valves. I need a spacer to go behind this pulley, and this pulley isn't pinned, but yeah, I mean basically it's all there working on. I need to make the oiler for the cylinder. I just dripped a few drops of oil down in the hole in the top. So yeah, I mean it's coming along. I need to think about what I'm going to use for starting it, make something to go on the end of the crank here. So yeah, I mean it's all in, trying to keep the camera still. It's all in position, everything's running. It's actually really close, that tolerance there with hitting the ball, but it doesn't. You know, it is close, but it's absolutely fine. So yeah, the little oiler's up there, everything's done. So it's all coming together now. With a cam belt, I seem to have got that distance right. I mean, there is a little bit of deflection in it, but it fits nicely without a tensioner, so I think I'm going to leave it like that. I must have got the distances right. And if I just turn it over, you can see, in fact it rotates this way, so there's a valve lift there on the exhaust stroke. Exhaust pushes out, top dead center, valve has now dropped. Not quite, needs a bit of timing. Valve has dropped, oops. So intake stroke, compression stroke, top dead center again, ignition, down to bottom, open the exhaust valve, back up to top dead center and leave it out. So yeah, the 4 strokes seem to be, I've got it roughly in time. So yeah, I suppose other than those few little bits that I've written myself some notes for, electrical system and carburetor next. I think that's about it for this one, guys. As I normally say, pretty much coming to the very end of the mechanical stuff now. I suppose the carburetor is still mechanical. The carb in the drawing is just basically a tube with a venturi in it and fuel coming in the bottom, with an adjustable needle. I want to put a throttle on it. I've been looking around trying to find a carb off a RC car, looking at various designs and what have you, and I think I could make one. So I'm going to go totally off the charts again, sketch up a few ideas and have a look at making a carburetor for it, with a throttle, maybe a rotating shaft with a hole through it as a butterfly, maybe some form of choke as well. So yeah, I've got a few ideas in my head and made a few little sketches, but it's all very small scale. I mean, the bore is only going to be about, I don't know, not even 2 mil. Sorry, about 188 thou, I think they said is the max sort of bore it should have, so 200 thou. So, maybe 5 mil through the bore, maybe 4.5, something like that. So, yeah, I'm going to have a bit of fun making a carb. Well, anyway, as I said, that's about it for this one. So, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you all very soon. Cheers now.